Love is the law wherever we are. This is, I ran out of memory. And so, the difference between being unscripted and scripted. See, this is scripted. I make notes to myself. So at the time when I was feeling through my heart and soul, I wrote it down, right? Because I'm not going to remember what I just wrote down in the exact same way that I just put it, unless I read it back to you, letter by letter, number energy by number energy. And then that means I'm copying it, but it's not going to be exactly the same, because there will naturally be some way that I change it just naturally so that it's not an exact copy of the same. That's what the AI does. Okay. It's a record keeping system. Okay. It's the mental field. Okay. A machine, if you will, of fractured souls. Because it's dead light. So when you think of, for example, the mental field of AI binary coded 1D, 2D, that's snake eyes. We used to do this as children. Hey, the snake eyes. And you see the forked tongue. The tongue coming out. Okay? The coiled snake. What? Sharp teeth. Inject the neurotoxin. Distort the central nervous system. All right? That's its weapon. That's its defense weapon, see? Or its aggressive weapon, right? Nail you, right? Food density networks, right? Food density networks. Underworld networks. So there was a comment that Michelle had made when somebody made a comment about reversing back. So we have reverse flow going back in time, forward flow. This is the magnetic polarity between AC current, right? CA, 3A, AC, direct current, which means having access to direct current, 0, pH 0. Or if you will, the antimatter and matter side, okay, between polarities, between 1D, 2D, okay? And so that's the cross, the center point of a sphere when it's in perfect balance, right? So if every sphere is in perfect balance, then it's in perfect balance with the law of one, which is the law of spheres. So I chuckled at it's like what an inverter is and what a converter is. Okay. Eric Dollard, to his credit, covered a lot of this stuff. He showed how he was able to spin a galaxy inside of a dome, basically. If you've ever seen those old street lights, like from the 1890s or early 1900s, where they had big hard steel poles, and it had like a little dome, really thick lens, right? Ever seen those, particularly in some older places? They're in Santa Ana, California. They're all over the world, right? He spun one inside of one of those domes, but it was right side up rather than hanging down this way. In other words, the dome going this way, he had it this way. See, domes, the vortex. Okay, so anyway, inverted gets converted to the law of one, which is gifting energy. Okay, so we're not Anunnaki and Draco that are capturing souls as energy, which is not gifting anyone any energy. They're not gifting anyone any energy, are they? Why would they have a need to capture souls if they already have all the energy they need to experience what love is, which is gifting electrons forever? Direct current. Right? So they're not gifting anyone anyway. Right? So we're back to the control. The control of energy, not gifting energy. That's as simple as it is. That's why if you're not in service, gifting energy, right, then you're not experiencing the one, which is gifting love, which is gifting a vibration. It's a vibration. When you're experiencing vibration, you're naturally giving energy away, which is high energy. That's why love is the law. Okay. Capturing souls is breaking the law of one. Okay. I mean, you can't get around that. It's not an either or question. Because all you have to do is experience what they did. Now you know what they did. Now you know they broke the law. Okay? So I wrote down here, any one energy like real living soul arcing spheres of pure love on fire do as star nurseries, the birth canal of stars, real living power plants in spiritual purity of that love energy. So I was thinking, for example, the mental field, when I left off about being in a fire station, for example, right? Okay. So because of the API interface, right, in the underworld, and you realize how binary coding of everything that's being recorded, of what we're experiencing through what we've been trained to do, because that's what firefighters have been trained to perform these task modalities, according to a particular order in which they unfold, because that's what training is. Okay? In an academy. So, for example, when I was being trained, this is what a coupling is, this is what a gated Y is, this is how the fire pump works in series and parallel pumps, pull a vacuum, vacuum gauge, 0, right? Why that's critical, what it means to draft, what a Venturi system is, how it means that you can use 1 to get 3. You can use 1 to get 3. Whoa, I'm getting more back than what I started with. That's the point. That's the relationship between 1 and 3 and 3 and 1. Okay? So what happens is that because I experienced it, when I'm there, I'm not experiencing a lot of emotional energy. I'm not experiencing the more, if you will, the harmony and the flow of the balance, because we're all operating on the mental field. The way most males do, that I've experienced being in a highly trained environment, a highly trained API program interface environment. So you realize you're simulating using the mental field, which is a copycat machine, okay, because we're thus going to experience what we've been programmed to do, which are all the task modalities, in the order sequence in which they are occurring, thus being experienced by virtue of the programming. That's what training is, a training simulator. So we've been trained to simulate what we've been programmed to simulate, which is how to do all the task modalities in order to put a fire out, or respond to a traffic collision, or respond to a medical aid. So I began realizing we're all operating on the mental field. So I'm not experiencing an enormous amount of love that's being shared between all the firefighters that are in that station, between each other, right? Which is one of the reasons why I'm reflecting on this. For example, when I was given a title to be a captain with an assistant chief and then a fire chief that worked for base command at the United States Naval Weapons Station in Seal Beach, California. So here's an example, which is other examples that I've given when you feel like you're a parent, just like when I was 4 years old. So I'm wearing basically a navy blue, dark navy blue uniform that they give you, that you're required to wear in order to symbolize, if you will, what is the Maltese Cross. That is the international logo for firefighters. It's the Maltese Cross. If you've ever looked into the Polar Marie, Hermann Goering, remember him during World War I? Had the Polar Marie, beautiful stone, right? And then you had the Nazis in World War II that had the Iron Cross. Some of those pilots that flew for the Luftwaffe, I believe his name was Hartmann. Believe he was one of the few that ever got what's called the Cross Swords, which is X and diamonds. That's as high as it goes in terms of what they call bravery for all the kills. I forget how many kills he had, but it was way up in the hundreds. Okay. So, you translate this terrain. So when I was at this particular station, and this is just an example of it, when you're a mother and a father as one, joined as one with all creation you're giving love to, is that it's not the labels and the pins or the rank. It has no meaning. That hierarchical and the way that works here, it's like discard that. So I discarded it. I took the uniform shirt off and put it in the locker as if it doesn't exist. That's not who I am. Okay? I'm a parent. Okay? I am what love is. Okay? That's the law. So it's not about rank and horsepower, and it's not about trying to control others. Because the nature of the way that energy works is to protect